You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
IceDogs double-team the puck carrier. Goyette twisting and turning. Anania all alone. Great save, Owen Flores. He does it again, and the IceDogs have a chance to get a break. Castle left side into the zone. Castle's going to walk in. Scores! IceDogs win it 5-4.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your November 9th, 2022 edition. My name is Brandon Caputo. You can follow me on Twitter right underneath there, at Caputs13_AGM, as well. You can follow my co-host at JustKyle51. Guys, if you want to follow the podcast and stay up to date with all of our IceDog content, make sure you're following us at Dog Pound Podcast, as well on NiagaraIceDogs.net. Underneath the media tab, we have our own page there, Dog Pound Podcast. You'll find everything for all the platforms, all of our links to all of our newest episodes. Everything's on there for you guys. And if you're listening on demand on audio form, we are available on all of your listening platforms. Wherever you get your podcasts at, we are available for you guys, and in video form here on YouTube. So if you guys are enjoying the YouTube version of the podcast, guys, hit that subscribe, smash that bell, and like the video for all updates on new content that gets released here on the network. Kyle, a 3-game week for the Niagara IceDogs. The gauntlet, the northern road trip, North Bay, Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie. You heard it in the beginning, thanks to the great radio voice of the Niagara IceDogs, Ted Lehman, with that overtime goal for Aiden Castle. Crowns up for Aiden Castle. Shout out to him, take a drink.
Yeah, crowns up. Aiden Castle. I'm getting that started. I'm getting that trending.
Crowns
Anytime up. Aiden Castle scores, hashtag crowns up.
Love
IceDog fans. If you're on Twitter or Facebook, wherever, hashtag crowns up.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, which is us. We are going to discuss the good and the bad. The good and the bad. We've got a couple of cool things lined up for today's episode. We've got the first installment of what is on DeDobbelaer's radar. You guys are going to love this. It is going to be our conversation with Darren DeDobbelaer. We're going to do this periodically, where he's going to be able to update us on what's going on with the Niagara IceDogs and get his general thoughts on how the team is playing. And then we've got our wrap-up with the head coach of the Niagara IceDogs, as always, Daniel Fitzgerald, on the show. So, Kyle, good and the bad from the 3-game road trip.
Oof. Okay. Well, the good thing is we won a game. That's the biggest positive we can take out of the 3 games. Again, we talked about it last show. I would have loved at least 2 out of the 3 games in a win, but yeah, okay. The bad is obviously going to be the North Bay game. That was, God, I ranted last week. I wanted not to come on here and rant. I'm not going to, but exactly what I said happened last show happened in the North Bay game, and they absolutely got destroyed by the North Bay Battalion 9-3. So that was probably the bad of the 3 games.
Can we talk about some more of the bad? Sorry to cut you off, Kyle, but from that North Bay game, speaking of the bad, North Bay, I'm gonna say it right now, undisputed worst goal song in the entire league. That thing, I don't know what that was. And to go along with the worst horn in the league, the fact that the IceDog players and fans and us covering the team had to listen to that 9 times, that was torture enough. So, I don't know what that was, but North Bay, that goal song's got to go. That 70s disco, I don't know what it was. It was just horrible, and the horn wasn't any better. So again, that just compiled on to the 9 goals for North Bay, and it It was not good, Kyle. If we look at the in-depth stats, Niagara was 0 for 6 on the power play, and North Bay was 3 for 4. So right there, I mean, look at that swing in just the power play alone, the special teams.
And special teams killed the Dogs, but I mean, one little positive out of that game was Zito got a hat trick. I didn't even know he scored the hat trick goal. It was watching it on CHLT. I'm like, okay, somehow he has a hat trick, and even the commentators were confused at what happened. But anyways, it was special teams absolutely destroyed the IceDogs in that game. It took them out of the game, especially with North Bay capitalizing on 3 power play goals, and they came to play in that game. It was another game where the IceDogs didn't show up until later in the game. Like, they didn't score they didn't score 2 goals until the third period. They only had 1 goal out of the first 2 periods, and only 18 shots to North Bay's 29. So they absolutely got dominated in the first 2 periods. And again, it was exactly what I said the last game. You can't play like that if you're going to want to be a competitive team against a lot of these teams in the OHL. And you know, it is frustrating. It is frustrating watching that, right? Because we don't sit here and criticize them because we think the IceDogs are terrible. They're a good team, and we know that they have it in them to be a good team and to be on the opposite side and be the team to beat someone 9-3.
They're just not putting it all together right now.
Yeah, it was rough. That was a rough one, pun intended. But you know what? I mean, we'll switch over to the Sudbury game. Sudbury game was a good game. It's a very, very even game. The IceDogs look like they're very, very matched up against the Sudbury Wolves this year. So I feel the other games that we're going to play Sudbury in are going to be very, very even, very close, something like this. But we almost didn't win this one either. Like we did have a 4-2 lead going into the third period, but Sudbury came back. Like, it's not like we came back. Sudbury came back and sent it into overtime. We luckily enough got, the goal.
To 3 goals in the second period to give them the buffer for that late comeback for Sudbury. But yeah, that could have been another, disaster if they would have, lost that lead. And we've talked about all year, Kyle, just the slow start. It seems like 90% of games they're getting scored on first, and they're always playing from behind.
Yeah, and there was a lot of penalties too in this one. Again, it's not like it's all right to take penalties, but they do take you out of the game. Not only that you're having to put your PK out there and you're tiring those players out, because then when you get to full strength, those PK players have to go back out there and play a regular shift, and they're dog tired from all these penalty kills they have to do, especially like they had 4 penalties in this game. And it was tough. I think they could have won that one in regulation. Thankfully we won it in overtime, and Flores absolutely had to stand on his head, and boy did he ever. He was the CHL's was it first or third star that night. I think he had like 50 saves. Your goalie shouldn't be making 50 saves in order to win a game. That is absolutely ridiculous to see a stat line where he had 50 saves. So
maybe your Leafs should get a goalie like that.
Wow, we're not going to get into that. God, this guy over here is Sabres fan because his team's finally actually winning for once.
Hey, what about our black and red jerseys? Just saying, amazing. But
wow,
we'll save that for another day. But yes, 50 saves for Owen Flores. What a performance! By far the first star in the game.
Yeah, and he played great in the Sioux game, and that was the game I was looking forward to the most. Like because we talked about last show. Sioux, was it Kingston and Niagara are the last 3 teams down for the Memorial Cup pitch for the following season. And you want to show that you're competitive against those other teams. And this was a good game. Up until the third period, the IceDogs were matched up with the Sioux Greyhounds. Yeah, there were a lot of penalties taken in this game, but from what I watched, the IceDogs played a very good first half of the game. The first 2 periods were dominated by the IceDogs. They went into the third period up 2-1. They had great, they just looked good all around. They had great goals by Aiden Castle. Brendan Serzati had a really nice goal. They look like they desperately wanted to win that game, and I don't know what happened. It's this third period too. It's not only the late starts, it's the third period where they just fall flat and they let the team run over them. Sioux comes in and scores 3 goals in the third period. I know one was an empty net, but one was on the power play. But like there was nothing. The third period it just looked like the IceDogs didn't exist. They just let them run over Flores, and they ended up losing 5-2. Technically 4-2 because I really don't like counting empty net goals, but because that's not fair. You shot on a net with no goalie in it. Why should I count that?
At least they weren't playing a Zamboni driver, but
yeah. Anyways,
but like again, it's difficult because you can probably tell that they were dog tired by the end of this road trip, because I don't think people realize how difficult that North Bay, Sudbury, and Sioux trip is, especially 3 games and 3 nights. It wasn't even like they had a day off in between. Like by the end of it, like they've been on the road for the whole week, many more hours on the road than they were on the ice. And
I mean, yeah, but like, can we use all of that as not an excuse, but like other teams are doing it. Ottawa's doing it, and they're 12-1. So like other teams are doing these road trips too. It's not like the IceDogs are the only team on a road trip.
No, but
it's just they need to find a way to win. This is not the last road trip of the year. They're going to have more road trips, so they're going to have to dig down deep, because I know they have it in them. This team does have the skill level and everything and all the tools they have to be a good team. They need to dig down deep, and they need to find a way to correct their mistakes. And clearly the 2 biggest mistakes are starting the game on time for one, and finishing strong in the third period, because they've shown a lot. The third period is escaped them. It's a shame, but I think they do have it. Deep down, I know this team can be a great team and can fix these mistakes, and I think they will. I think with a little bit more time here, they'll figure it out. I know eventually once it gets to like near the end of December, it becomes almost crunch time, because the trade deadline's just around the corner, right? And you got to figure out if the pieces you have in place. I know the IceDogs have 5 or 6 moves left.
Yep. You
got to figure out if you need to move more people around, or if you even want to move more people around. You know what I mean?
This is going to be your team.
I mean,
I was
just going to say, like, it depends where they are in the standings, right? Like, if they're going to go for it, you trade in the pieces to go for it.
Yeah, but I mean, realistically, like you said, if they only have 5 or 6 moves left, I mean, what they have now is most likely what they're going to have the rest of the season, unless they, completely sell or completely buy, and again, we don't really know what's going to happen with that, because we've seen moves be made and more moves be made. Many draft picks moved in, many draft picks moved out, many players have come and gone, but and they're finally getting healthy again. I think that's something to be said too.
Oh, that's like a bonus. And less suspensions, which is great. I don't think we got 1 suspension out of all those 3 games. That's a positive. I'll drink to that. No suspension.
But yes, it looks like they're going to be getting everybody back for the most part. Wysik's still out, unfortunately, because we think he can make a big impact on this decor whenever he does get back in there. But yeah, I mean, now they've really got no excuses. They've got everybody healthy. They're able to roll the lines. We saw coach mixed up the lines a little bit in a couple of those games, moving some guys up and down the lineup to get them going. It seemed to work with Zito, even though they lost 9-3. I mean, I know, it doesn't look good, but at least he did score 3 goals to maybe that'll spark him going forward, because he was in kind of a rut after those 2 games playing against his old team in Windsor. So hopefully that'll get them going. But wrapping up the weekend as far as the top performers go, Zito, the aforementioned, 3 goals, 1 assist. Jared Keane had 3 assists. Brendan Sirizotti had a goal and 2 assists. And Aiden Castle, 2 goals and assists, including the game winner there against Sudbury. So, Kyle, who really stuck out to you this week in a positive way?
You know what? Like, Zito had a really incredible comeback performance with North Bay. Right, so I think that was really good for him. Gonna give him a small props to Nolan Danny. Finally scored and got that monkey off his back with that celebration. But I think, and it's gonna be a shock to some people maybe. I think the LeBlanc twins had a really good 3 games. I noticed them a lot in the 3 games, especially they were noticeable on the stat sheet as well. They are all over the stat sheet in the 3 games. I think they're starting to find their groove, which I know fans have been waiting, and other people have been waiting to see what these 2 twins are about that we traded for and we gave up a lot for. So I think they're starting to find their game, and they've looked impressive out there. They even look impressive finding each other on the ice, because there's been goals where, it's goal by Jacob and it's assisted by Andrew. So I think we're starting to see, them coming into their groove, and we're going to see a lot more out of the LeBlanc twins. They really impressed me out of the last couple of games. And obviously, can't. It's too easy to say Aiden Castle, right? We said it last week when we were talking about the previous games. Aiden Castle is just, he's proven that he's going to be one of the people carrying this team on the score sheet for the rest of the year, and he's doing that still through these games. But the LeBlanc twins for me, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, we're finally starting to see some of that twin magic, and it was unfortunate because Andrew was out for, those 2 or 3 weeks there, and it was only Jacob in. And I know it's different because they're not both forwards or they're both D. There's one forward, one D, but it seems like more times than not they're able to find each other and, make those plays that they're just instinctful because they've been playing with each other, their whole lives on the same ice. So it's incredible to see, and like you said, I think we're finally starting to see that. And Darren DeDobbelaer actually talked about them later on and what's on DeDobbler's radar. But looking at the player stats, Kyle, Aiden Castle, as you mentioned, now leading the team in goals with 16 points in 15 games. Obviously, he's the catalyst right now. And then Pasquale Zito and Pano Femus, Brendan Sirizotti, Copeland and Dolan Dan are all in double digits for points right now. So they've got 6 guys that are now in double digits in points. That's a positive. I know the plus minuses need a lot of work, but for the most part, they're finally starting to get some scoring, but they've just got to keep the puck out of their net and stay out of the penalty box. Are the 2 biggest keys, I think, right now.
Yeah, and tightening up, obviously, defensively. We mentioned it previous times in the podcast. They are struggling in their own end a little bit, which is going to take some practice, and hopefully that they can figure that out, because I think you said it, if they can keep the puck out of the net, which transitions to their defense, right? If they can figure it out on the D side of things and help Flores and Rosenzweig see less pucks, I think we have the scoring. We know we have the scoring. As long as we can tighten up the defense, the scoring will come. The goals will come.
Right. So let's get into our weekend wrap-up with the head coach of the Niagara IceDogs, Daniel Fitzgerald. And pre-warning, he was a little bit under the weather when I did speak to him. So props to Fitzy for being able to fight through that like a trooper. So again, apologies for Fitzy's voice not being 100%, but he was still able to give us some good answers about this weekend. So here is the head coach of the Niagara IceDogs, Daniel Fitzgerald. Joined now on the hotline by the head coach of the Niagara IceDogs, Daniel Fitzgerald, to wrap up the 3-game road trip, the northern road trip. Coach, welcome back. I know it was a long trip, and really the first one for the guys experiencing that long trip, the North Bay, Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie trip. I know it's not easy, but how do you think his mindset about the whole trip and being able to go through that 3-game gauntlet, how do you think that they grew from that?
I think we definitely grew from it. Having been on a bit of a skid and heading into North Bay and not putting our best foot forward there, and then coming into Sudbury and getting the 2 points and kind of getting 2 muckings off our back with the overtime win. We've lost 3 overtime games before that, and obviously not having won a game in a few. So that was a big one for our group, especially play 3-3. It's not easy. It's not easy when you lose the first game, and that was a real big bounce back game for us. And then we put forth a pretty good effort in Sault Ste. Marie, one that we were happy with a little bit. I'd say happier than we have been in the past. Some games haven't really gone our way, but there's a better effort there, a better commitment to what we were doing. But there's still a lot we need to clean up. So there's definitely some bright spots, and we're gonna build on those and clean up some of the areas that we're not as pleased with.
The head coach Daniel Fitzgerald here with us on the hotline tonight. Coach, I know, North Bay, you give up 9 goals, and then, the game in Sudbury looks like, it's going to be a pretty good game, and then Sudbury battles back in the third period. Then you have to go and win that game in overtime, and then, Sault Ste. Marie, the 5-2 loss. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any easy games for this team right now, but is that something that you're kind of wanting to instill in them, that, there's not going to be any nights off in this league that they're going to be able to take for granted, and they're going to have to bring their A game at every night and show that consistency of being, quality Ontario Hockey League players throughout this whole 68 game season grind here?
Yeah, you're right. It's if you don't have a great game, you're not getting a point. That's how good this league is. There's no room for an average night, and if you have an average night, you're not going to win a hockey game. And we got some great goaltending from Owen Flores, in Sudbury and again in Sault Ste. Marie, and that gave us chances to win both games and got one of them. The North Bay game, that's a good hockey team, but there were things that we could have done a lot better to give ourselves a better chance in that one. And there's still learning that has to be done here, but we're 15 games in now, and I think we got to start pressing fast forward on some of these learning curves, and we need guys to start taking ownership of that. And I think this weekend was a big step towards that. A greater commitment to the team, and we're getting there. But you're right, it's a long grind. 68-game season, no joke, and the teams that we're playing are no joke. It's going to take all of us to get to where we want to be.
And the special teams coach, obviously you're 9th in power play, but the penalty kill is all the way down to 19th. Is that something that you guys are really trying to rectify, and something that you're really honing in, to try to improve the special teams unit? Because you were pretty happy with the way the power play was going a few weeks ago, but is this something that, in order for them to continue to be successful, the special teams unit has to, step up here?
Yeah, absolutely. The kill has not been good enough. We've had poor execution. We're making some changes to maybe some of the personnel, and making some, changes to how we approach it. And we need to be better there. We know that, and the players know that. And the power play slipped a little bit, but we still have full confidence. We have confidence in the guys that can do the job on the PK as well. We're not happy with where we're sitting, and we expect some improvements very soon, very quickly.
And moving forward, Coach, some bright spots. Aiden Castle continues to lead this team in goals. He scored the game winner there against Sudbury. He's up to 9 now in 15 games. Just what have you seen out of the progression of Aiden Castle, even since you've been here since the beginning of the year? Like, do you just view him as somebody that's just a point producer, or do you really see him being a great all-around player and somebody that's a veteran in this league now and that can help you in a lot of different areas, not just leading the team in goals here?
I think, if you're just looking at Aiden Castle as a goal scorer, you're not seeing the forest for the trees. This kid is very detail-oriented. He sees the game so well. He does a lot on our back check. He hounds pucks. He's very good as F1 on the forecheck, and then he's very good as F3 finding soft ice, and that's where he finds a lot of his goals. So, he is building himself into a complete player. There are areas that he's aware he wants to clean up, and he's doing a lot to do that. He really does commit himself to getting better, and we see an improvement every single day. And the goal scoring, some of the goals that this man scores are, they're pure goal scorer goals. These aren't luck. This is breaking a goalie down and taking full advantage. And he's a special player, and we're so thrilled to have him.
And I know you did switch up the forward lines a little bit. You're finally getting healthy again, which is, I know, a big step for this team. Finally, having the 4 lines, being able to rotate 4 full lines. And Pasquale Zito, I know, even though it was a 9-3 loss, he did score all 3 goals and did get a hat trick. So how important was it for you to kind of, switch up the lines a little bit and try to get some guys going that, have kind of, been in a little bit of a rut lately, like Pasquale Zito and some other your top players that you're hoping that can be top producers for this club?
Yeah, it is a little bit of trying to find the right mix and the right chemistry for guys, and to get some guys, back on the score sheet is huge for us. We saw some really nice things with those combinations, and hoping to build on that.
And last question for you, Coach. And again, thank you. I know you're feeling a little bit under the weather, so appreciate you sticking in with us here. But Rick Wamsley's coming in as a hockey consultant. Can you just talk about what you think Rick's going to bring to the organization? He's obviously, had a long NHL career, and then his career after his playing career, being on the staff with the Columbus Blue Jackets, the St. Louis Blues, and then the Ottawa Senators goalie coach from 2010 to 2016. So how do you think that dynamic, bringing Rick on with all of his great knowledge and experience, is going to help your team moving forward?
Yeah, I'm so thrilled to have Rick on board. And, Walmer and I have been on the phone a number of times already, and, kind of got a really good relationship building already. And, he's going to be an invaluable resource for our team as a whole. The coaching staff, management, somebody that we can lean on and bounce ideas off of. And, he's just a really good man with a great hockey mind. And he's, really energized with the opportunity to help us and, gonna learn from each other and provide us with, guidance as we need it. And, it's just, for hockey guys like ourselves, it's just fun talking hockey. And when you do that, you get to the bottom of a lot of things, and you're able to share your knowledge. And Rick has so much of it, and I'm so grateful for his time and his commitment to the Niagara IceDogs and his commitment to our staff. And it's going to be great development for me and all my coaches as well.
And do you see him working, with the whole team? He's had the experience as a goaltender and a goalie coach, but do you see him more as that? Do you see him, being overseeing all aspects of the hockey? Forwards, defense, and goaltending, and then helping you guys out. Like, do you see him? It's not really going to have one specific role, but he's going to kind of, give it advice and can consult in many different areas.
Yeah, it's going to be across the board, and it's not specifically goaltenders or defense or forwards. It's the entire roster. It's the entire plan. It's the entire organization. And in terms of anything that touches hockey, we may go to Rick and ask for his advice and his opinion, and see how he can help us to come to the right decision. He's got a wealth of knowledge that expands way beyond goaltending. His X's and O's are incredible, and his understanding of players and relationships. He gets it all, and it's been a real joy working with him so far, and I know it will be as we move forward.
The head coach of the Niagara IceDogs, Daniel Fitzgerald, joining us after the 3-game Northern road trip, going back on the road again to play against Ottawa and Kingston. Coach, thanks a lot for doing this. Best of luck on the upcoming road trip, and thank you for sticking through there even though you're feeling under the weather. Hope to talk to you again next week.
Anytime, Brandon. Hopefully my voice is back the next time we chat.
Thank you to head coach Daniel Fitzgerald for another great insight from Coach there about the 3 games. And again, we wish him all the best as he recovers from a pretty bad bug that he came down with. But a few things that I took from it, Kyle. Again, he mentioned it, and I forgot to mention off the top. The IceDogs finally won a game in overtime. They had lost 3 prior to that. So I guess what they were working on in practice, with the in-tight drills and, 3-on-3, 4-on-4 must have worked because they finally got it done in overtime. And then the penalty kill hadn't been good enough. They're making changes to how they approach the penalty kill. So he knows that the special teams has to be better.
Yeah, and that's a big thing to take from it too is we knew that they were not strong on the odd man or the open ice game, whether it be 4-on-4 or 3-on-3. Looks like they've definitely been improving that. Like we said, with the new drill they incorporated in the last time we spoke. So also him oh God, I'm drawing a blank. Him recognizing what the mistakes they did and what they need to do to improve on those mistakes, especially he said in the North Bay game. He feels there's a lot of plays that, that they could have improved on to not make it a 9-3 game, and they know about them. So that was good to see. And then, he got me excited for I guess we're going to say Wamsler. What was the nickname for him?
Walmer.
coming in. That's an interesting thing, right? You got a 12-year NHL career goaltender coming in with a hockey mind. He was also a hockey coach. He's an assistant coach. He was a goalie coach. He was a goalie coach, was it for Ottawa between 2010 and 2016? So for 6 years with an NHL club. So we know he's going to bring a lot, not only to the organization, but probably the goalie side, and to assist, Jason Barron with a lot of the stuff in the goalie side. So, I mean, that's a really good signing by the IceDogs to bring him in and to be, a hockey consultant for the team. He's got a big hockey mind and can do, I think, a lot of good for this team. So I'm excited about that. And you can hear in Coach's voice as well. I mean, through the raspiness, unfortunately, poor guy, but that he's also excited for him coming in. And they've been speaking and becoming some good friends lately, which is good to have as well. So I'm excited for that. And the praise for Aiden Castle, saying that he's working on being a complete player, not only just a guy that's going to put be on the scoring sheet and lead the team in goals, but help on his other sides of the game. And, that's going to be not just him, but a lot of players on the team work on the defensive side, because we know the team is struggling defensively. And, he's a player that notices that too, and he can tighten up defense as well. But a lot of good praise for Aiden Castle, and he 100% deserves it, because he's had one hell of a season.
Right. So, guys, we're going to take a commercial break on the show today. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the upcoming games in in Kingston and in Ottawa. I don't want to talk about London anymore. And then we'll get into the first installment of what is on the DeDobbelaer's radar. Some good insight from the general manager of the Niagara IceDogs, Darren DeDobbelaer. So stay right here. We'll be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs.
Experience a new way to play daily fantasy sports and esports on Thrive Fantasy. Thrive's game concept revolves around player props, which are simple over-unders on player stats. There are contests for traditional sports including the NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, and cricket, as well as esports titles including CSGO, Dota 2, League of Legends, and more coming soon. Here's how to play. Choose your lineup of over-unders for top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Each prop has a fantasy point total based on how likely it is to hit. The more points the selection is worth, the riskier it is. Rack up the most points and win a share of the prize pool. Thrive is awarded over $2 million in cash, so come and prop up today.
Hey, this is Pasquale Zito, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast.
You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network, the Niagara region's best local source for North American sports podcasting coverage. By sports fans, for sports fans.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to segment 2 of today's Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. My name is Brandon Caputo, and I'm joined by my co-host Kyle Aikett to my left on the video version of the podcast.
You know what we need?
What?
We saw that in the opening clip with Ted's call, the overtime call. We need a barking sound bit to play. One, like the bark, like it has to like end the show or something. We gotta work on that. We gotta get a bark.
I'll work on getting us a bark, but
okay, perfect.
Again, for the video version, guys, if you're enjoying it, hit that like, smash subscribe, smash that bell for all updates on videos that get released on our channel. YouTube's making some changes, Kyle. I don't know if you saw it, but they sent out emails saying that you can change your handle on YouTube now.
So that means you can actually, we don't need to wait for 1,000 subscribers for a handle. You guys can literally go to youtube.com/armchairgms or whatever we have it at. Sports Network, and it'll get you right to our page. That easy.
You don't have to go through YouTube/YCTZM. None of that crap. So we don't have to worry about that.
Looks like a barcode.
But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I know we're really excited to debut our new segment. We are missing one segment this week, and I know Kyle wants to give him a little bit of razzing about it. But
Teddy Bursky. No history in IceDogs. What is it? History in
This week in IceDogs history.
I don't even know what it's called, but you know what? I'm just frazzled because you're telling me you couldn't make something up, Teddy, at least for us. Like this day in IceDog history, a dog walked by the Meridian Center, and they won the next game.
For somebody like him, he said he's got a big one coming up for us next week, so stay tuned for that, folks. It better be a good one if he missed this week. Better be really good. Better be like the greatest trades in Niagara IceDogs history next week.
If not, we're taking your mics.
Yes, but we are debuting a new segment, and we're hoping to get episode 2 of Cato's Corner for next week's episode. But another mini segment we're debuting that I spoke about just before the break. What is on DeDobbelaer's radar? Again, we're going to be talking with the owner and general manager of the Niagara IceDogs, Darren DeDobbelaer, periodically throughout the season to update us on what's going on with the team. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Kyle's done some clever editing for this, and again, here is the first installment of what is on DeDobbelaer's radar with Darren DeDobbelaer.
What is on DeDobbelaer's radar?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are pleased to be joined now on the hotline by the owner and general manager of the Niagara IceDogs, Darren DeDobbelaer, to debut our newest segment called What's on DeDobbelaer's Radar. Darren, welcome back to the show, and what's been on your radar lately?
You know what? First of all, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. You probably heard we brought in a very well-known NHL guy, Rick Walmsley, and just to bring some support to us. We're struggling a little bit becoming a team. We have a lot of great players, and we're trying to bring the team together. So we've been working on some bonding stuff, and just right now, there were a lot of moves made in the off season and at the beginning of the season. So it's hard to come together as a team, but I still see that we're going to be in an upward swing, and I think we have the talent to do it, and I think we'll be just fine once we become a team.
You talk about bringing in Rick Walmsley. Obviously, he's had a long resume here in the NHL. He played for 12 years, and then he spent time as a coach and a consultant along with the Columbus Blue Jackets, the St. Louis Blues, and then most recently the Ottawa Senators as their goaltender coach from 2010 to 2016. So just how excited were you to kind of bring Rick along here and add some more experience to this staff?
You know what? I'm really excited about it. Rick's obviously a guy that's done it all and seen it all. So, I mean, he's right there in our backyard, and he's jumped in, full force already. He's called me 10 times in 4 days. He's been watching video. He's called our coaching staff. We got a Zoom call with him tomorrow, and he's going to be getting on the ice soon, and he's just going to, try to tweak. We're making some mistakes, and we're not fixing them, and, he's going to be our eye in the sky with all the knowledge in the world.
Now, you say he's going to be a hockey consultant. Do you really know, is that really one role that he's going to do, or do you think that he's going to be doing a lot of different things all at once, and you kind of just needed to give him some sort of title?
I thought that was the best way to describe what he's going to be doing. What he's really going to be doing is he's going to be, coaching the coach type of thing. He's going to be helping us, and maybe you should do this and try this, and how about this, and let's do this and implement that. So, he's going to coach the GM. He's going to help me. He's going to coach the bookkeeper. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's right there in our backyard. He's a great guy, and he's just going to add value.
Great. So moving towards where the team is right now, Darren, 15 games in, they're 4-8-3. Obviously, that's not the results that you want, but, it's been a little bit of a rough patch here the last 6 or 7 games. What are some of the positives that you see, throughout this tough stretch that makes you believe that this team's still going to be a competitive team in the second half of the season here?
I think that the fact that we have come down from big holes before. The fact that, in Sarnia it's 4-1, we made it 4-4. We have scoring power. Our back end is better. We're healthy. We went to one game with 9 forwards and 5 defensemen, so we're finally healthy. So I do, and it's a great league. I mean, if you don't play well, you don't get a point. That's basically the way it is. There's only 20 teams. They're all good. If you take your foot off the pedal for one period, you're going to lose the game. So our guys need to understand that. We have a lot of 04s that basically it's only their second year in the league. So they're figuring it out, but I see a lot of progress, and I think we're going to be moving up the standings as time goes on.
A couple of the newer guys on the team here, can you just quickly touch on bringing in Jared Keane from the London Knights, how you think he's kind of fit into this program, coming from a very established program there and a well-coached team in London? How do you think he's fitting in as an overager and trying to be a veteran presence on that defense?
He's been real good for us. He's been a point a game since he's been here. I think he's got 5 assists in the last 4 games, or maybe 4. But he's been real good for us too. He's putting a lot of pressure on himself, and if he just plays his game, he'll be fine. But a good puck mover, good compliment to our team, so we're real happy with him.
And you bring in Voldemort William Hall with the import on waivers from Mississauga. What kind of role do you see him playing on this team? As he gets more comfortable and gets familiarized with the system and with his teammates, what kind of role do you think you see in him? And both your imports are Swiss imports, so he has that familiarity with Denisio to lean on. How do you think that he's going to carve out a role in this team?
You know what? We're not sure right now. He's still trying to figure out the North American game, and we get that. He's a big body. I think he'll be a good player in time. Right now he's got some work to do, but nice kid, big body, works hard, and we'll see. I can't really answer that question because we haven't seen enough of him yet right now, but
yeah.
He was on waivers, so it didn't cost us any draft picks or anything, and it was a gamble, and that was when we were short, so we thought, he's right there in Mississauga, we'll just scoot him over to Niagara Falls and see how he works out. So we're still feeling our way with him right now.
And you've got the 9th-ranked power play in the league, but the 19th-ranked penalty kill. What are you looking for from this special teams unit as we continue on with the season here? Is there some things that you've liked and that you see progress in, or do you think that there's still development to be made because they're obviously still giving up, a fair amount of goals here in the last couple of weeks?
So the penalty kill is an issue that we are reinventing the wheel with that. So we haven't been successful on the penalty kill at all. We've changed our system a little bit, our formation in the defensive zone. So we think that'll work a little bit. Our power play was actually better a few weeks ago. I think we were number 3 2 weeks ago or a week ago. So we are dropping a little bit, but when we got the firepower that we have on that power play, it should always be pretty high. But no, obviously we got to work on the penalty kill. That's number 1.
And is there anybody, again, with the name of the segment, DeDobbelaer's Radar, is there any player that's really stood out to you lately that you've really thought has really elevated their game? Obviously, Aiden Castle leading the way with 9 goals, but is there anybody that's really sticking out to you that's really, for the right reasons as of late?
You know what? Other than the no-brainers, Fimis, Castle, Zito, other than the no-brainers, the LeBlanc twins have both been very good for us. Very, very good for us. And they're going to be dominant players in this league next year, both of them. The forward, the D, they've been real good for us. I'm really happy with that trade we made. And they've been real good for us. So they're a great surprise. We knew they were good, but they're going to be dominant players next year, both of them.
And lastly, Darren, just to kind of wrap up today's segment, the team's played a lot of road games. They've been on a lot of road trips so far. They're going to continue to play a lot of road games here up until the end of November. So What do you think the message is to the team, and just trying to get them through, what can be a tough stretch with all these road games and all the bus trips and things like that? Just how do you think that's all been playing out with them having so much, so many road games and road trips already throughout the season, and trying to build that chemistry on and off the ice with so many new players?
We're trying to keep them positive, because it's always tough when you got to go to another team's, barn to try to win. We got a tough weekend coming up again this weekend, Kingston and Ottawa. Ottawa's number one right now, so it's another tough weekend for us. So, it's always nice to play at home. Your, surroundings, it's easier to get ready for the game and stuff. So, but it's 15 games in. There's 53 left, so
right.
There's a long ways to go yet. So, trying to keep them positive when things don't go our way is the number one focus we have right now.
Darren DeDobbelaer on the first edition of What's on DeDobbelaer's Radar. Thank you so much for joining us, and can't wait to talk again.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
There is the head coach, the general manager of the Niagara IceDogs, Darren DeDobbelaer. Kyle, what were your thoughts on what you saw there from or heard from Darren?
So I'll go back to, because it was a lot. I'm going to go back to the Rick Wamsley thing. He looked a lot, but he sounded like, another excited, just like Coach, about him coming in and, really being a great hockey mind to not only help the players out, but he also mentioned like helping. He's also a good hand to helping like the coaching staff, even the management, like himself and assistant GM Wes Consorti, who, it's great. When you have a guy that's had like lots of major success in the NHL, when it comes to he's played it, he's coached in it, and he's advised in it, that's a really good asset to have with the IceDogs, and for players that are trying to make it into the OHL, right? And players and coaching staff that are coaching players to get into the NHL, so they can really rely on him for a lot of things and go to him for a lot of things. So big praise from Darren with Rick Wamsley. It definitely gets me more excited about it. And him mentioning too that, even though like the power plays and special teams have been looking down to the dumps, but he very believes in the team that we have right now, that we're going to get out of it. We're going to climb up the standings and we're going to figure it out. So, it's like basically back what me and you said. We know that this team has it in them, and he believes it, and they'll find their way to get themselves out of this rut and be that team that climb up the standings and have a good rest of the season. Also, the high praise to the LeBlanc twins, a lot of faith in the LeBlanc twins from Darren, saying that they're about to, be a lot better than they've been doing really good lately, but even into next year, that they're going to be some top players here on the team, and not only the team, the OHL. So those are the few things that I took definitely from Darren in that conversation.
And apparently Rick Wamsley's called them 10 times in 4 days. So it seems like he's really enthused to really get going with this team and with this club and getting, engraved into the culture here in Niagara. That's really great to see. Like you mentioned, he's just going to bring nothing but positives to this team, I think, with his wealth of knowledge and experience and many years in this game at all levels. And again, they were talking about, reinventing the wheel with the penalty kill, Kyle. It has been bad. We heard Coach talk about it in the first segment of today. It's just, they've got to get through that, and they've got to get better on their coverages in the D zone.
Yeah, and even Darren mentioning too, mentioning that they do have a lot of work ahead of them. I think that's the big thing too, is that this team doesn't think, that doesn't, what I'm trying to kind of ignore the issues at hand. Like, there are a few issues at hand, and they're a team that they know what they have to work on now, which I think is a really good thing. You want to know what mistakes that you need to fix at least, fix. And I don't know, that was a mistake.
It's okay.
But no, I really do like what we had to say, and that was a really good first segment from Darren. And I think the big thing for me was this hire from Rick Wamsley. I think this is actually going to be really good for the team, and Darren had some strong feelings about it. So I'm excited for that, and hopefully we can actually get Rick on the show. I'd love to sit here and chat with him even if it's for a special episode for you IceDog fans as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's got some great stories to tell us from his years on the road in the NHL. But we'll finish off today, Kyle, with just looking ahead to this next week. Kingston and Ottawa, another road trip before they do come home next week. So let's take a look at the standings right now, and let's talk about let's talk about Kingston first. You know, the Frontenacs are in 5th right now, 8-6-0-1. And they don't have Shane Wright, but they still have some good players, and I think they're actually doing better than what some people had expected them to do. They're 5-5 in their last 10, so Niagara right now is sitting in 8th place in that last playoff spot, but you look at Hamilton, they played 4 less games, and Sudbury also has a game in hand, but we're still a long ways away. Only 15 games in. I know we're looking at the standings already, but you know, they didn't have much success against Kingston last year, but I'm hoping that they can go in there on Remembrance Day on Friday and put in a good effort.
Yeah, and in Kingston, you know, it's cool. It's cool in a way, but it's interesting because the Bulldogs and Kingston are kind of like in a similar place going into this season. Both of them lost, you know, their top players to the NHL going into this season. The Bulldogs losing, was it Jack-Eye and McTavish, and then the Kingston losing Shane Wright. I believe they had some other players off the team as well, but you know, they're proven that, you know, they had a strong secondary besides their NHL drafted players, and it's proving it right now. And with their drafted players as well, 8-6-0-1 to start the year, pretty good start for them. Mid-pack too. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They're hanging in there. So
yeah,
it's going to be a good game when we do face them, you know, but the Bulldogs is really shocking to me. I know like they lost 2 crucial players, but to start the season 3-7-1, that's I don't think anyone could have predicted that, especially after winning the OHL Cup and going to the Memorial Cup as well.
Yeah, they just did trade away their goaltender, Marco Constantini, too, so they're running with Matteo Drobek in the net, but you can check out our buddies Colin and Reese over there at the Hammertown podcast. Yeah. They'll discuss all the things going on with the Bulldogs, but yeah, Kingston, their head coach is former IceDog and former 50 goal scorer for the team, Luca Caputi, so we'll see if we can get a chat with him while we're in Kingston, but we'll see about that. And then, Kyle, we finish off the 5-game road trip with the 12-1 juggernaut right now, the Ottawa 67s, who have scored 60 goals in those 13 games, 9-1 in their last 10, coached by Dave Cameron. And it's not the most exciting style of hockey, but it gets it done. And right now, the 67s look like a wagon.
Yeah, that's I can't have high expectations for this game, but we can go into it being, you know, with the energy that maybe we're the team to hand them their second loss of the year. I mean, they do have a game tomorrow against Kingston, of all teams. And then they don't play the IceDogs until Saturday, I believe, or they have a game, they might have a game on Friday. But regardless, we could be the team to do it. We could be that team to beat a 12-1 team or whatever they're going to be by Saturday. You know, I think the IceDogs can just have that motivation, regardless of what happens in the Kingston game, put that behind them and just focus on, you know, delivering against a top team. And, you know, if they can prove that they can beat the top team in the OHL, that would be a massive, massive confidence boost coming back at home the week after, next week, hosting Michael Misa and the Saginaw Spirits. So, again, I'm going to have like zero expectations going into that game because I don't know what was going to come out of that. Kingston, I believe, will be a really good game.
Yeah.
And if they can improve on the areas that we know that they can need improving or they need improvement in, it's possible to walk away with 2 wins here. I would be thankful for 1, at least out of the 2. And either Kingston or Ottawa.
I think if they come out with a very good effort in Kingston, if they, you know, take it to the front next, come away with 2 points, like you mentioned about the confidence, they're gonna, you know, have a lot of juice and be rejuvenated a little bit after this rut they've been in to really go in there and want to take down Ottawa. You know, it's a team that they don't see as often because they're in the other division within the Eastern Conference. But Ottawa's, for the most part, always been one of the top teams in the OHL. They were in first place the 2 years prior to COVID as well. So they've always been like a very, very solid organization there. Last year they kind of had a down year, but they still made the playoffs. So I think Niagara can go in there and hopefully pull off, a big win and one that would, really show the rest of the league that this team is here to play and they're not to be messed with this year like maybe they have been last year.
And with Dave Cameron at the helm too with the Ottawa 67s, they have a good chance at being a really dominant team this year. But if we can prove we can hang with them and defeat them, then maybe again that could be a big confidence boost to the team. That if we can go in and defeat the best team in the OHL, we can defeat everybody else. You know what I mean? So I think this will be a very interesting weekend for the IceDogs.
And like we mentioned, the theme of this show is the special teams. 1 for 12 on the power play this last week. They've gave up 5 power play goals, 10 goals for, 18 against. The goals against have to come down.
Maybe that's what we'll call the episode, special teams.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to end that episode. But anything else, Kyle, before final thoughts before we wrap up?
Nothing really. Rick Wamsley, I'm excited for that. Thankful to be back at home finally after this week. After a long road trip. Again, we got some important home games coming up in the month of November. Especially the 26th is the teddy bear toss game, which is always an exciting thing for fans. As soon as the first goal goes in, everyone parades the ice with teddy bears. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I'm really, really excited for the Ottawa game. Like, I really want to see how this team matches up against the top team in the OHL. I'm really excited for that.
So we'll see how they do this week, and coming into next week, we'll be back next week to discuss what happens in Ottawa and Kingston. We'll be back with the next episode, hopefully, of Coach Cato, or you can call him Captain Cato's Corner.
Coach Cato.
Coach Cato. I don't think he's quite at that status yet, but we'll be back with Captain Cato's Corner, and hopefully Ted will figure it out for this week in IceDogs history. But besides that, guys, thank you for listening to another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Again, you can follow myself, Brandon, at Caputs13_AGM, and you can follow my co-host, Kyle, at JustKyle51. Most importantly, follow the podcast on Twitter at Dog Pound Podcast, and like us on Instagram and Facebook. And lastly, you can find us on all audio platforms and on the video version here on YouTube. So thank you again to all of you IceDog fans for tuning in and listening along for another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Bark, 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 go Dogs, go. And we'll talk to you guys again next week. You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.